Hi everyone, I'm Yasha, and welcome to the 34th episode of Election Scoop. And in this episode, unlike the last one, which was very short, we will be covering the M states. And this video is so long that it's being cut into two pieces. The next one will be released in a couple days. But in this episode, because there are 8 M states, we'll be covering 4 of them: Maine, Massachusetts, Maryland, and Michigan. M is a very popular name to name your state, I guess. So let's dive in. We start off with the race for the governorship of Maine, with Democrat Janet Mills racing off against Sean Moody, the Republican Sean Moody. Now, the current governor of Maine, Paul LePage, Republican, is quite a character. He's known for his uh, partisanship and his fierce, I guess you could say, dedication to his office. He's been very controversial. He's defended President Trump. He's made numerous statements that have garnered controversy. And the Democrat is leading in this race, but it is close, so we're rating it as a toss-up. We have a three-way race in the race for the senator from Maine. We have Democrat Zach Ringelstein, Republican Eric Braley, and in the middle, incumbent Angus King, who is by far and away, I mean, it's not even close. Maine is it's moderate, but it's slightly center of left, and Angus King likewise is moderate, slightly center of left, and this is a safe race for him. He's not going anywhere. Neither of these two are close to even beating him. So, for the Maine House, District 1 is currently held by a Democrat, and the second is held by a Republican. The second is a toss-up, so it could stay in Republican hands or switch sides, and it could go back to Democratic hands, making both of them Democratic, or it could not. Now on to Maryland. Maryland's incumbent governor is Republican Larry Hogan. Maryland's a Democratic state, but there's a Republican governor, and he is very popular. He has 55% of the vote to Democrat Ben Jealous, former leader of the NAACP, 36%. And so, while there's room for, some maneuvering on Jealous's part, this race could become competitive. Right now, it's about as safe as it gets. Maryland is also holding a race for Senate, and incumbent Democrat Ben Cardin is facing off against Republican Tony Campbell. And this race is pretty safe for the Democrats. There's, I believe, an independent running in this race, but which is why these numbers are pretty far from adding up to 100. But they show the point that this is a safely Democratic seat. Maryland House, nothing interesting. I think for this episode, there's not that many competitive House races until you get to Michigan at the end. So, yeah. Massachusetts' governor, very much like Maryland. Massachusetts is a arguably the most heavily Democratic state in the Union, but it has a super popular Republican governor, the incumbent Charlie Baker, who he's pretty moderate, and he's capitalizing on Massachusetts' history as a liberal Republican state, kind of like Vermont, which we'll get to in future episodes a little longer down the line. And his opponent, Jay Gonzalez, is far behind. He's at 25%, and Baker's at 60%. So you do the math. Baker's getting reelected. Massachusetts is also holding races for Senate. I think every state in this episode has races for governor and senator. That's crazy. Anyway, Elizabeth Warren, one of the most famous senators, known as a watchdog on economic issues, is running against Republican Jeff Deal. And you have the mirror opposite of the governor's race. Safe Democratic. The Republican is doing pretty poorly in the polls. It's interesting to see. Millions of Massachusettsians, I guess that's what you call people from Massachusetts, are voting Republican for governor and Democratic for Senate. And that's a type of party ticket splitting that you don't really see anymore, and I think that's nice. Yeah, um, not much to say there. On to Michigan, the last state. Now, Michigan, which probably is the most swing state we're covering in this episode, you can make a case for Maine, but Maine is more. Maine is more democratic. Michigan is a lot larger, and I guess more high profile, you could say. Former state senator Gretchen Whitmire is running against, I believe, Attorney General Bill Schuette, and she is leading by a pretty comfortable margin, 47 to 38, in a state that President Trump won. It was close, but he did win it. And we rate this race as likely Democratic. I mean, so close to the election. Chouette, I mean, it is somewhat of a competitive race, but Chouette really needs to start going if he wants to catch up. Michigan is also holding elections for Senate. Popular Democratic Senator Debbie Stabenow is running for re-election against Republican John James. And this, likewise, is a very safe state. There's not much to say. Again, state that President Trump won, but in a amazing example of splitting your ballot, voters who voted for Trump are now turning out to vote Democratic for governor and senator, and possibly, as our last slide shows, for the Michigan House. Michigan has 14 congressional districts, unlike Maine, which has 2. So, all the districts that are shaded for one party are held by that party, except for the 11th district. So districts 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10 are held by the Republicans. Oh, and 11, and the rest are held by the Democrats. But we predict that District 11 is likely to switch sides from Republican to Democrat. It's held by the Republicans right now, but we predict that most likely it will switch to the Democrats. And the Democrats have a good shot at picking up District 8 too. That's a toss-up. It could go either way. So Democrats will probably gain those 1 to 2 districts, but potentially they could gain a few more districts. The 1st, the 6th, and the 7th have a chance of becoming competitive, or they could pick up no seats at all. So, that was a long episode, and it's only part 1 of 2 in the M State series. So, I'll stop boring you, and see you next time. Thanks for watching, and remember, don't forget to vote.